Have you heard of goat yoga?
I've heard of goat yoga.
Have you heard of hot yoga?
Yes.
Okay, hot goat yoga with fainting goats. I'm just waiting. Somebody's got to do this. This would be the best. 90 degrees, 95, with goats that are fainting on top of you as you're doing yoga. Why would you not want to do this?
Just have the
I hope we're not
handy.
recording.
Jim, I have a question. The other day, Jaguar made a rather, let's say, colorful announcement. But what is the future, do you think, of this troubled luxury brand?
They are going to be doing a brand reset, and the truth is it couldn't have come sooner. Actually, it could have. About 10 years.
Maybe 15.
Jim Hall knows it, oh, or so he thinks.
Welcome to Jim Hall Knows It All right here on the Automotive Esoterica YouTube channel. I am journalist Craig Cole, and as you may have guessed, this right here is Jim Hall. He's worked in automotive media, he's been an analyst, he owns a whole bunch of classic cars, and of course he's one of the smartest people I have ever met in this industry. So Jim, it's great to be working with you once again.
Great being with you, Craig.
Yeah. So Jaguar, a couple days ago, they sort of announced a new brand strategy, and they're looking to transform themselves. And this has gotten a lot of people, let's just say, hot under the collar. There's been a lot of hot takes out there on the internet. People are outraged. I'm still overheating from all the hot takes that I've seen. But I think the dust has settled. It's been a couple days. The adults are going to talk about this and hopefully break down what Jaguar is doing.
They're doing a lot.
Yeah.
They're doing everything from, they're going to show a vehicle that, well, it's not a production car, but it's a theme for their design. In fact, they showed it, and it looks like it's a rooftop air conditioner.
I was just going to say, you get a little peek of the back.
Yep. We think it's the back. We don't know.
We don't know.
But they're going to show this this theme. They've gone into the logo. They've gone into the typeface they use for the word Jaguar.
Mm-hmm.
They've also created some sort of mysterious little graphic thing that...
A sigil. They're doing alchemy.
I don't know, but people look at this and it's like, well, is that going on the car or not? Because a lot of this has been set up for this art show they're going to do, an art installation where they're going to show the new graphic. They're basically getting into every aspect of it. In fact, there actually is discussion apparently that they're going to move up market from where they had been existing, and if they're pursuing possibly lower volume and higher MSRP, that might be a very good reason to do a full, hard brand reset. So it looks like that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and they're calling this exuberant modernism. They want bold design, unexpected ideas, original thinking, which is not what they've been doing at all.
They've been basically, they've fallen into lockstep with Mercedes and BMW. Plain and simply. Whatever they're doing, we're going to do the same thing because we're going to compete with them. The problem is, Jag historically were cars that, well, nobody bought a Jag for the rear seat. They bought Jags because they were sexy four-door sedans. When BMW didn't make one, God knows Mercedes didn't make one. So they made Jags, and that was the reason for buying. As the other guys started selling more cars, they, in pursuit of volume, diluted down their DNA. This is, I think, an attempt at new DNA.
Let's dive in. Let's start with the logo, because that's pretty controversial as well.
Which
for
logo?
me. Let's start with the word, the typeface
The
first.
word. All right.
Because this offends me.
All right.
This is vulgar.
And
You have uppercase letters, lowercase letters. No, that you just don't do that. I'm sorry.
why, you would have a car with all lowercase?
I want a good serifed font.
Oh,
like a
God,
Hyundai
no.
Equus. No, I don't.
No, this is about being contemporary. They have what is a very graphic font now, and not only that, they're reiterating letters. For example, the J and the R are the same letter, just one's inverted. So that's the advantage of using lowercase.
They can only make one letter and glue it on the car.
It's easy, yeah.
It's one part number.
It's cost savings.
Yeah.
But the point is, this is a very graphic statement. It's not like what they have now, and more importantly, it's not like anything else anybody is doing on a luxury car. It's a different kind of a graphic. One of the things about it is it's using a lot of kerning where they space the letters apart. When you do away with the wide kerning, what you end up with is a logo that is actually less substantial, almost insubstantial, compared to spreading it out.
It looks like something from the 1970s when you push it together. Maybe this is some sort of cola brand, like off... generic
Jaguar
brand
Cola.
Yeah, but like you catch it out of the corner of your eye, you can't read what it is, you can't see what it is.
I admire them for going into the detail like this. they've also taken something that I think everybody knows, and that's the Jag Leaper logo, which is the side view of the Jaguar, and they've rendered it two-dimensional.
Yes.
It's completely flat now. Where it used to have three-dimensional rendering of the musculature, it's simply a block graphic. Now, there are two reasons you might want to do this. One of which is online.
Online, okay.
You can render it and in a quick way where it graphically is the shape. You're making a graphic statement rather than a detail statement. BMW recently has taken their Roundel logo and made it from what was always rendered as three-dimensional with a highlight. They've made it two-dimensional and very flat and high and graphic.
Push it to the background.
That's sort of modern graphics. This I understand. The thing with the Leaper, as they've shown it, and this may not be the way it's on the car, it's defined by negative space around it with these horizontal lines.
Correct.
Which means if they're going to do it that way, you've got to put it on a grill or something else. That can be challenging. But again, we're seeing the logo and they're presenting it simply as the logo.
Yeah.
So it may not be this way on the car.
Yeah, this is just a teaser right here.
And this is, because the whole thing is about teasing everything, every aspect of the car.
But they're calling this logo new.
They are.
It's the same Leaper, though.
It actually isn't.
They might have trimmed it up a little bit.
It's gotten more lithe. It's a little longer. It's thinner. It's actually, the problem with the Leaper was on the back of some of the cars, when they did it in chrome and three-dimensional, it was kind of chunky, and it's highly asymmetric when you see it. It's got a direction that sometimes on the back of the car, we have a strong horizontal line. It looks like it's not on right. I mean, I'm
It looks
serious.
a little crooked, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Where by defining it with horizontal lines, they're setting it up and saying this is how it's oriented.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not.
Visually, you can see then.
Correct, that
Gotcha.
it's deliberate. Where instead of it was like a mistake, maybe. They have another thing that they call the artist's mark.
Yes.
This is the thing, to me, that is the complete anomaly.
Yeah, this is like some sort of alchemical sigil or something. They're doing witchcraft or trying to make gold out of stones. I don't know.
It's an interrupted circle that uses the J and then inverts it as the R. And I don't know whether this is their logo for Jaguar Racing, which would make sense, but how they're going to apply this on the vehicle, I don't know. And the truth is, it may not even go on the vehicle.
It may just be a design study. This may be an experiment or something they're teasing
Or
and
it could be,
working with. Yeah.
it could be something they use on things like corporate identity, on cards or buildings. So we don't know what this is going to be used for. But if you really want to talk about the stuff we don't know what it's being used for, what's really odd were the graphic images that they were presenting with this. And I don't know what order they should be shown in, but they were things like a graphic that says brake molds, and it has an individual holding a bright yellow hammer, and they're dressed apparently like someone who was a disciple of Devo. Then there was this one, which I find intriguing, that's copy nothing, which they're attributing to Sir William Lyons, who was the founder of Jaguar.
Way back in the day.
Way
30s,
back in the day.
right?
And I don't know if he said this, but it does in some ways really explain a lot of what Lyons was doing. Now the thing is, it's not that he didn't copy nothing, but if he copied something, it was a Jag.
Okay.
So this is how they kept their design DNA, because he didn't design the cars, but he approved them. And you had to make something he was going to approve. And everybody that designed him knew it.
So what is this the Mos Eisley Cantina? Is this Pastel Dune? Which one is Baron Harkonnen in this lineup? Because it looks like some sort of science fiction.
Clearly, Baron Harkonnen is the guy in the left, the upper left, in the red. I mean, that's obviously him.
He's been on Ozempic, I guess.
Apparently, yeah. And apparently, this is one of those things, you see it graphically, and people are going to talk about it. And the important thing about that is, it's been a long time since anybody has talked about Jaguar.
That's the thing. Like, they're at least in the conversation now.
They're in the conversation, and they're raising some awareness. So if, in fact, they can follow this up with cars that embrace the theme in a way that resonates with the public, that's good. So the idea of trying to do the brand reset on the upper market rather than volume is probably the best way to try it. It probably is.
Going way up market.
And they are going way up market. There's Baron Harkonnen again.
Oh, yes, he's got a paintbrush.
Yes, which Baron Harkonnen had in many of the scenes in both the original Dune and the Villeneuve remake. Many times you'd see him with the white paintbrush.
Of course, painting the American flag, apparently.
Apparently, but yeah, I think it was the Harkonnen flag myself.
Agree to disagree.
All right. And then the other one was Live Vivid, which I love this image. I really do. Because this is one of those things that's like, whoa. All right. This embodies, unlike the other ones, this embodies pretty much an attitude that would be very good if they can pull it off.
If they can pull it off.
Yep.
So yeah, these images created so much controversy out in what I call the complainosphere, the internet. Everybody's just griping about it and losing their minds.
The bots really don't like
Oh,
this.
especially the bots.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we don't know if this is anything at all. This could just be a fashion show that they're revealing the new font, right? The new logo or something. We don't know yet what's actually happening.
But they say they're going to have a theme there, a
Yes.
vehicle theme model.
Coming up, a couple weeks are going to unveil that.
Yep.
From the time of recording, at least.
And the vehicle theme model, you have to understand, it may not, it could be simply a form without wheels, without windows, just to show a philosophy of surfacing and design language. Or it can be a vehicle that sort of it's all of this distilled down into a product that they wouldn't build, but it sets the attitude for what they're going to do.
Is there a difference between a theme car and a concept car?
Yeah, if you think about a concept car, it's showing a vehicle concept. And a lot of times what you see is a concept becomes a production car with some tweaks. Concept cars go back to dream cars, which is sort of envisioning what a car could be. A theme car doesn't have to be an automobile per se. It can be a form or a shape that is the design philosophy or the product philosophy you want to put in the vehicle. So theme cars, a lot of times, never go to production as they are, but they'll influence where your production direction goes. Concepts are much more literal in that respect. So they're closer to what a next generation fill in the blank could be. Next generation Jag XJ.
What is an example from recent history of a theme car that we might have seen at an auto show?
Theme cars haven't been done in quite a few years.
Okay.
Because the cost of doing concept cars or show cars is so high, you want to make it relevant to something you're doing. It does happen. The truth is, if you go back to the General Motors Futurama, it was full of cars they called dream cars, but they were basically theme cars of things we could do in future cars. And some of them, two right at the top, one was called the GMX Stiletto that was at the New York World's Fair, and the other was Firebird 4 at the New York World's Fair. These are vehicles that were more about form and shape. That was never going to go in production, but it showed what was
ideas
and what was believed to be possible at the time. So they're the ultimate sort of future extensions, and we're not going to build them. The thing I'm most curious about is the car.
Yes.
Because there have been electric Jag sedans spotted that are physically huge. They're very large cars. We're talking about
It's like Rolls-Royce Phantom sized?
Rolls-Royce Phantom size, Cadillac Celestiq size. And if they decide to move Jag or introduce everything there and then trickle it down, they could be in a position to successfully reset the brand. To do this, they will lose volume.
If you're going up way up market.
You're going to lose volume. And remember, it is the J of JLR. And Land Rover has proven to be quite successful on a global basis and pretty durable from a design standpoint. They're doing things that are unlike anybody else's cars, but they're different from the language that's being used for this Jaguar. So the reset. So it may be a way that they make this work, but brand resets are not judged. And the problem is the internet will want to judge it on a 2 or a 3 or a 6 month basis.
They're always in a hurry.
Yeah. And these
Not
aren't
gonna
even
give it the 5 years it needs or more.
No, they're more than 5 years.
Yeah,
A brand,
10 years.
Probably a decade.
Yeah.
And that means that they have to be willing to accept what's happening. And the hard part is going to be that if it doesn't take initially, there'll be a tremendous move to alter it. In which case, you didn't reset your brand, you just trashed the old one. That's all you've done. That the degree of commitment that's required here is what's going to determine whether or not it's successful, plain and simply.
Yeah. So with this big brand reset, do you think Jag is going to reach back into the past, or are they crumpling that paper up, throwing it out, and looking straight ahead? What's going to happen?
If you looked at the images they showed, with the exception of the logo that's the leaper inside you, it looks like they've crumpled up the paper and thrown it away. But they're intoning Sir William Lyons, the founder of Jag, and things he's said as part of why this is their new DNA. So that says the future has the past in it. The question is, how much are they going to rely on it? And until we start seeing the cars they sell, we won't know that.
What are elements of historic Jags that might be carried forward?
One is the fact that the package be damned, we want it to look sexy.
So design, so sort of styling over function.
Styling over practicality, maybe, all right? So it may have 4 doors, but you might have to crank your neck to get in the back door. But when you're there, you're sitting in the back of the coolest looking 4-door around. That's an old Jag priority. The E-Type is everything about that philosophy, but in a small sports car. The other thing is Jag interiors were done sort of in the shadow of the way Bentley and Rolls did interiors in the 30s and 40s and early 50s.
It's like sitting inside a tree. Because there's so much wood.
It's not just the tree, it's also the leather. And leather in the future in luxury cars may be an unacceptable element. It's possible you can see things where they've done interiors that look thematically like an old classic interior, but with contemporary or very traditional materials like wool that are recyclable, that are renewable. Leather is one of those things that until recently you couldn't recycle leather. And it used some leather uses some pretty nasty chemicals to
There's
make
a lot
it.
of plastic in it too, the surface.
I'm not even talking about it. I'm talking about the dyeing
Well, the
process with
tanning
things
and
that if
dyeing.
you put your hand in it, you know. So there's that aspect of it, and it's going to be interesting to see how much they try to carry over things that would be considered historically Jaguar elements into the car. The exterior, I don't hold a lot of hope for them doing it there because they're going to rely on the new graphics. They're going to rely on the old graphics. The interior is another story because if you look at Bentleys and Rolls-Royces now, the interiors don't have that elegance and refinement of old Bentleys and Rolls and so on. This is not just me being old. The truth is, you're talking about diamond quilting, pleating, perforating everything, radical use of some materials in the interior.
An ashtray in every door panel.
Well, it's not an ashtray anymore.
Oh, it's a coin cubby.
No, it's
If your rosary
no
snaps and all the beads fall
You go to
everywhere.
the high-end restaurant, as you walk out, they're the mints and the little tiny wrappers, and that's to put the wrappers in there, and then you put the mint in because they taste awful. They're just
They're
horrible.
terrible, right?
Yeah, they're just awful. So the car will smell like mints.
Oh, that's cheap mints too.
Yeah, but
That's
in
what
an
you want in your
expensive car.
$250,000 plus Jag.
Yeah, so.
Well, we'll continue this discussion here in just a minute. Plus, Jim will share his esoteric pick for this episode of the show. I'm not sure if it's automotive related or pop culture related, but make sure you stick around for that. A lot of great content coming up. Also, of course, if you have any questions or comments, perhaps even an idea for an episode of the show, leave that in the comments section down below, and we'll consider covering it in a future episode of Jim Hall Knows It All. Maybe you can stump this guy. He knows a lot. I don't know.
You know, if they stump me, they'll still never see it.
Well, that's right. We just won't do that episode.
Yeah.
But don't let me discourage you from leaving a comment.
Send it anyway, please.
Yeah, please, because
I enjoy a challenge.
He does, very much so. But, so Jaguar, we're looking at this brand reset now. Are they going to offer cars that are magenta and orange and yellow? And also, how far is this reset going to go? What do you think is going to happen? What's in Jim Hall's crystal ball?
Jim Hall's crystal ball. It's hard to breathe.
I think they're going to try to do a hard brand reset to the point where they reposition the brand so they get out of the market that's so cluttered where they disappeared. I mean, they disappeared in the crossover market. And that's the hottest part of the market. So the natural tendency to want to go in there. The thing is, if they do a high-end crossover, like a high-end sedan, they're going to be competing with themselves. The full-size Range Rover, the long wheelbase, the Autobiography SV long wheelbase is like a $250,000 vehicle. So they either have to be above that, in which case they dilute the efficacy of Range Rover, or they do the products Range Rover can't or won't do.
Which is cars.
Cars, or a different take on a crossover. I contend there is a crossover that has not been done.
Okay. So this is Jim Hall's sort of prediction for the future then.
No, this is
What is the crossover they haven't done?
This is a vehicle that I don't think anybody will do because it's intrinsically hard, yet at the same time it's very simple.
Okay.
It's to build.
It's a minivan.
No, oh God, no.
A Jaguar minivan.
Yeah, just what the world wants, like
They're
a
going to call it
Lexus
the
minivan.
Windstar. Oh. That name's never been used before. I'm pretty sure.
It's never been used successfully. I'm going to, maybe on another show we should talk more about this, but the bottom line is it is what I would call a classically beautiful crossover vehicle, and it can be done.
What do you mean classically beautiful
The
as
things,
applied to a crossover?
No. The things that make a vehicle classically beautiful, surface development, proportion, basically stance. You can do that using the metrics of classic beauty on a crossover, but, and that's all I'm going to say about it now.
So are you saying long hood,
Longish.
relatively short roof, big dash to axle?
Those are parts of it, but that's not all of it. There's more to classic beauty than just that.
You want big fenders. You want sealed beam headlamps. No?
No.
Okay.
No. But the thing is that's where if they were going to do this, if they successfully reset the brand and they get a big sedan that's successful for what they need to be successful, and that means supporting The dealer body they want to retain, very important.
Well, the dealer body has
Is
Land
dual.
Rover.
Right, that helps
So,
tremendously. It gives
yes.
them latitude.
Yeah.
And if they're going to do this large sedan, they could attempt to do this product. But it has to be done in such a way that no one even thinks of Range Rovers, full-size Range Rovers, in the same thing. It's like nothing. It's just like, no, this is its own vehicle. It can be done. I don't believe it is in their plan to do it because of keeping a free lane for Range Rover.
Yeah. But if you make a crossover version of that giant sedan,
Then
I think that would probably be fine because
No,
Land Rover is much more focused on off-roading, and you wouldn't necessarily do that with the Jag, right?
that's not the classic. No, you're not going to get any more on me on this
Okay,
one. Not now.
He's sealed up then, folks. Okay, so we're speculating about a gigantic sedan. What happens to the rest of the lineup? Because they've got the F-Pace, the E-Pace, the I-Pace, there's the F-Type sports car.
Is out of production.
Yeah.
F-Type's out of production. They're getting out of the business that they're selling.
Shedding these products.
Yeah, they're
keeping
keeping the crossovers well. Part of it is the crossovers, because they're derived from platforms that are shared with the Range Rover. They basically, it's sunk costs. You can still do them, and it keeps some volume up at the dealer. But the move up market will eventually necessitate them getting rid of those vehicles eventually, and that's going to be interesting to see whether they can stomach that, because that means less revenue, less volume.
Because it's like selling, if Ford were to sell the F-150 Raptor R,
Yeah.
and if they still offered a Festiva, that's quite a product spread.
Right.
So
But
they
it's-
don't want to be in that sort of situation.
But there, in the luxury market, there's another mechanism going on. When you start talking about a vehicle like a Rolls Phantom, or even a Ghost, this could be like a Ghost as well, but the bottom line is the same. Exclusivity is a critical part of genuine luxury. The things they mention here have the potential to be exclusionary for some customers,
This is true.
which creates exclusivity.
This is true.
Marketing 101, sell what you have. If you don't sell a lot of cars, make that part of the marketing message. We are exclusive. We are not for everybody. We make cars. You might want to buy just another German car. Get another German luxury car. They're all good. They have good cars. Ours are different. If you understood ours, you'll want one of ours.
Okay.
It's this whole thing of using exclusivity to create almost, for want of a better term, a snobbiness about the brand.
Okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to cultivating that air of exclusivity.
Exactly, and that's an important part of what happens when you start reducing your volume as you go up market. You have to embrace exclusivity.
How far up market are they going to go? And do you think they can pull it off? Are they going to develop the right products? Are they going to have the budget to do it?
I think they're going to go up market to the point where they're not at a Phantom level, but probably a Ghost.
Okay. So several $100,000.
A $250,000,
Yeah.
okay, or more. And they're talking about electric.
Yeah.
Now,
Right?
well, you do, but a lot of European companies that said they were going to be all battery electric are now saying they might have some range extending hybrids. Okay, it's reality.
I mean, yeah, the way the market has gone.
Exactly.
EV adoption.
But it doesn't mean that it would not be heavily electrified, in which case there is even the possibility, and I emphasize only the possibility, that they could get to the market before Rolls has an electric Ghost.
Okay.
Even though Rolls has what could make an electric Ghost right now
The Spectre, right?
by taking the Spectre and turning it into a four-door sedan.
Yeah.
But it would need a little bit of schmoozing to get the rear seat right. But the point is that's where I think the logical place is for them to go. We'll see what happens.
We will see. Do you have high hopes? You think they're going to be able to pull it off?
I have to.
We don't know what they're doing yet. So
I don't
it's a bit
know.
of a hard
I don't
question.
know.
Yeah.
It's an impossible question right
Yeah.
now. But I want to see what the product is they're showing, what this form is. If the form is simply the equivalent of using your hand as an ashtray to get attention, all right, which someone could do.
I'm sure you've probably done it as a
I don't smoke,
a
thank
parlor
God. No.
trick.
But the point is, if it's that kind of getting attention, the model then becomes irrelevant to the issue of the brand reset.
Okay.
If it's too irrelevant.
Sure.
It has to have some way it can be connected to products they're going to offer, and not simply because I want a car that looks like a rooftop air conditioner.
Which they may be offering. We
But
don't
it's
know
a
yet.
very small market.
I mean, exclusive.
It is
They're cultivating
exclusive.
that air of exclusivity.
Maybe too exclusive.
AIR of exclusivity for the
Yes.
HVAC system. But we should hopefully see their design study, or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
in a couple weeks here. Early December is when that's slated
Right.
to come out. So maybe that will answer a few of our questions about where Jaguar is going here in the
see.
future. We'll see how vivid and original they actually end up being.
Yeah, because, saying live vivid is different than actually living vivid.
Yeah, I would love to see them offer like pastel colors, like vibrant orange or the mauve or something.
The irony is Rolls-Royce does on their high-end stuff. They actually do. They have some spectacular
well, you can
colors.
just paint to order whatever you want,
Of course.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
You bring them a tuft of your cat hair and they're like, match this, and like, okay, no problem, sir.
Bentley actually had a color where someone brought them a kitchen utensil of a certain color.
Okay,
And it was a pale blue, and they basically did it, and then the color has been added to the color palette.
Sounds like a good color,
It's a striking color. On the right car, it works. I mean, it actually does. And the thing is, when you get into large luxury vehicles, including crossovers, all of a sudden you can do things with color you can't do on other cars because you only have to sell 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That way, it's okay.
We talked about British racing green a little bit with the background that you had there.
Yeah.
What about Soviet hospital green? Is that an option?
Anything is an option if you have money. I
is
mean,
true.
really. It's like,
Could that be the color, the hue that this brand hangs its hat on?
I would say that Soviet hospital green is one of those washed out colors that would be sold perhaps as pine gray by Mercedes.
This is true. They'd have a fancy name for it.
It'd be the same thing, but it would be pine gray because it's
Artisanal.
so washed out. That's all.
It's just sickly,
Yeah. it's-
ill-looking. But anyway, Jim, you have an esoteric pick for us today. Something you've set aside, you've pulled out of the shadows for us. I have no idea what it is.
That I do, and I've decided on an automotive esoteric
Okay,
pick
it's automotive.
today.
Because Jim is a big pop culture guy. He loves classic movies and films and things like that.
And
so you never know what he's going to do.
And it's related to our topic of the day.
Okay, so what have you picked for us?
That's what I've picked. To a lot of people, it looks like a Jaguar
I was going to say this must be a Jag.
Mark II, but it's not.
Okay,
It is a Daimler 250 V8.
it's an ungainly looking thing.
Well, it's a Jag with a different grille, but under the hood, it has a 2.5 liter V8, Hemi head V8.
Wow, just like a Tatra, but it's at the
No,
opposite end.
not like a Tatra, like a Daimler SP 250 sports car.
A sportsing car.
Yes, a sportsing car that was done by Daimler, fiberglass body, and it was introduced. That's a 63, but it came out, and of course, it sort of competed with the 3.8 liter Jag E-Type.
Okay.
And the company was in tough straits. It really was.
I imagine this was competing and losing because the E-Type is beautiful.
Well,
this is not as
the fact that most
attractive.
people have never seen these
Yeah,
gives you an
that
idea
gives a
about
good
how
idea.
many were built. Okay, it's rare. But this car had that 2.5 liter aluminum V8, and it performed quite well for a 2.5 liter engine. I mean, it
Yeah.
actually did. So Sir William Lyons buys Daimler outright.
Okay.
Gets rid of this car, not immediately, but close to immediately.
Okay.
And they had a second generation of this under development that actually looked really nice.
Because he didn't want that to compete with his E-Type,
Exactly.
right? So he bought this other brand, and he's like, we got this
So
beautiful car.
he has a production capability, and he has this engine with a relatively new and pretty nice engine. So they take the inline 6
Okay.
Mark II Jag that at that time would have been probably a, I think they had a 2.4 liter, a 3.4, and a 3.8.
And they had that up to like 4 liters, right? The Jag straight 6 you're talking about?
Not in this car. It went to 4.2 eventually,
Okay.
but in this it never got that big.
Yeah.
And they put the Daimler V8 in it, and they are astonishingly refined, nice automobiles.
Okay. You just never see them or apparently hear about them, right?
I believe they were never officially sold in the States, but some were imported right-hand drive cars. They would let, if a customer wanted to order them, they'd do it because it was pre-emissions.
Yeah. You could anything went. It was the Wild West back then. Yeah.
No, it was okay. It was let's put it this way. It was probably 2.5 liters. It probably was less polluting than a Jag inline 6 at 3.8.
Right.
But the point is, it's a really nice car, and this is actually on my list of cars I'd like to acquire. I really do like the 2.5 liter V8. Yeah. It's an interesting car.
Have you driven one before?
I have driven one.
Okay.
And I really do like them. They're very
Smooth
pleasant.
little engine.
It's smooth. I mean,
Is it overhead cam or is it a push
No,
rod?
it's a push rod.
Okay.
It's a Hemi.
Okay.
But it's quite impressive. It's less power than the peak 6-cylinders that were put in these when they were Jags, but it's a lot. And the Jag 6 is a refined engine. This is more refined.
Fascinating. Because an inline 6,
It's perfectly
typically
balanced.
Perfect inherent balance and secondary balance, right?
But it makes noise. They wanted it to make noise. The Jag was a performance sedan. Here, it was more refinement, and it was really a really nice car.
Bring a trailer, you might find one
I look them
someday.
up every now and then.
And you probably have a list of like 50 other cars you want to buy.
No, I have 9.
It's 150.
I only have 9 at a time because 10 cars is profligate.
You don't want to seem piggish.
No, not at all.
The Porcine Motorist. There's your new YouTube channel.
I like it.
He likes it, folks. But hey, if you like this episode of Jim Hall Knows It All, make sure to give us a thumbs up, and please do consider subscribing to the Automotive Esoterica YouTube channel, so of course we can bring you a lot more content just like this. We've also...
I was going to ask, what about Patreon?
We also, good thing that you brought that up, Jim, if you want to kick us some pocket change, we do have a Patreon account. You can support independent content production and journalism. Kick us a few bucks if you're feeling generous. Of course, you don't have to do that, but we do appreciate it very much if you consider that. And anyway, Jim, thank you so much, of course, for your expertise and, frankly, your boundless energy, because I don't know where you get it from. I really don't.
Coffee.
Coffee?
Coffee.
Is that it? Just you're eating no dose on the way over? Just caffeine pills?
I have coffee. I drink lots of coffee in a day.
Okay.
I keep Pete's in business.
Anyway, thank you, Jim. And next up, click right over here to check out a feature where I explain how to shift an early Ford V8 transmission. If you know the secrets, it's actually very easy to do without ever crunching or grinding a gear. So make sure you check that out next. And of course, thank you all so much for watching this episode of Jim Hall Knows It All. Except shift patterns. Apparently, he doesn't know how to do that. So he should probably watch the video.
I did.
Did you give it a thumbs up?
Of course.